If you aspire to build real wealth, then you need to understand that business ownership is not an option. Okay. In this video, we're going to push back the curtain, take a peek at why that is, and how you can break through that W-2 ceiling. Okay. My name is Walker Deibel. I am the Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author of Buy Then Build, and the creator of the Acquisition Lab. Building and having wealth, okay, can do a lot of awesome things, right? I mean, it's no secret that we want it. It's sort of what comes with it is freedom, right? Financial freedom. I like to think of it in terms of being able to work on really cool and constructive projects with really cool people, all the while sort of investing and building various assets along the way, usually that appreciate in value and or cash flow as they go, right? One of the things I covered in Buy Then Build was that effectively 100% of all ultra high net worth individuals own their own business. Okay. And this research was done by John Bowen in the State of the Affluent. And ultimately, what came out was 80% of people that were high net worth own their own company. 91% of the very high net worth own their own company. And effectively, 100% of the ultra high net worth own their own company. Okay. And I recently read an article by Michael Kitces, who's a financial planner. He writes for other financial planners, okay, who are in terms of helping their clients and understanding what they're looking at. He wrote this great article sort of comparing the kind of millionaire next door profile to that of billionaires, okay? The millionaire next door is the profile of someone who has a high paying job, or most people can do this actually. It's basically saving 10 to 20% of your income over a long period of time, taking advantage of the compounded growth that's available to all of us in the stock market, right? So like saving little bits each and every month and plugging it away in the stock market, living below our means and having a nicely diverse portfolio and all the rest of it, okay? We won't go into financial planning in this talk, but he compared that to the billionaires. And the billionaires basically invested in their own companies, they invested in themselves and overweighted from a diversification standpoint, way overweighted into the business that they owned, the business that they had control of, okay? And they grew that all the way until they were a billionaire. And he gives one example of Bill Gates, where Bill Gates, once Microsoft went public, he could have sold his Microsoft stock and diversified, which is what financial planners would recommend, right? It adds some protection against that overweighing of one company. But all of these examples where you had a CEO of a company they essentially controlled, okay, and they way overweighted all of their sort of chips in the business that they owned to grow to that level, okay? Now, the thing is that you don't have to be a billionaire in order to take or aspire to be a billionaire to take the lessons out of his point, okay? 2 points. One, billionaires became billionaires by ignoring diversification and way overweighing into their business, okay? Number two, millionaire next door types, okay? People are becoming millionaires, all right? Very rarely exceeded $4 million, okay? And if they did, it's because they had a super high paying job, saved a lot, all the rest of it. But here's the thing that Kitces suggested to his other financial planning community, which is you will never see someone who built wealth in this fashion who hits $5 million or beyond. That's business owners, okay? And so the thing is that if you have any aspiration of breaking that $5 million net worth mark, okay, the way that you do it is by overweighing what it is that you're investing your money in. And maybe it's not the stock market, maybe it's something you have control over and something that you can grow, okay? Now, whether that business gets you to be a billionaire or not, that's sort of up to you. The point is, well, up to a lot of things, right? But the point is that when you look at what makes a good investment, right, you have to unpack the return on investment, all right? You have to look at the margin of safety and you have to look at upside potential. In my opinion, businesses have all of these things. In fact, I covered a lot of why buying businesses have a lot of those things in chapter 2 of Buy Then Build. I was recently made aware that Tiger 21 publishes their asset allocation of their members. So what is Tiger 21? If you don't know, Tiger 21 is a group of ultra high net worth individuals who I'm not a member of Tiger 21, so I can't tell you, other than they help each other basically build additional wealth, stay true to themselves, and challenge each other in terms of what they're investing in and all the rest of it. Let me share my screen and we can take a look at what they're investing in as of this last quarter. So what we can tell by looking at where very high and ultra high net worth individuals are actually allocating their funds is, we can sort of take a look at the different asset classes in which they're investing, right? So I think the first thing you'll notice is that 25% of their allocation is in public equities. So this is the stock market. These are securities that are available to all of us. Then you have this quadrant over here of private equity. Then you have about another quarter in real estate. And then there's this sort of fourth quarter. I'm sort of breaking them down loosely directionally by 25% each. And you have this other quarter that's sort of a mix between cash and equivalents, currencies, commodities, fixed income. There's this little, 3% hedge funds in there. Let's not get into that. But and miscellaneous is probably things like art, expensive cars, whatever, things like that. What do we take away from this, right? I mean, the thing is private equity down here in the lower left is 29%, or the single largest allocation of the ultra wealthy. Okay. And this is not billionaires, by the way. These are going to be people that used to be, you had to have a $10 million net worth to apply to this group. They subsequently changed it to 20. And this is investable assets, not total net worth. It's currently 20 million in investable assets in order just to apply. And so what we can learn is private equity is the private market of small businesses, startups, late stage acquisitions, roll-ups, things like this. It's also businesses that you own. That is private equity because it's a private semi-illiquid asset that you're growing. Okay. You also have real estate up here, almost a full quarter of the allocation. And you might even say to me something along the lines of, yeah, Walker, I mean, I've heard that, 90% of millionaires are made by real estate. Well, I want to share that there's no actual studies that have proven that to be true, at least none that I've ever seen. And in my experience, and from all of the entrepreneurs that I've met over the 15 to 20 years that I've been doing this, all kind of have come to the same conclusion. I know a few that have made it really big in real estate. Okay. But by and large, what I find is that it's easier to have major success in business than it is in real estate at the beginning. Okay. And real estate seems to, for entrepreneurs that I have met, okay, it seems to be a way of accelerating wealth generation, but not necessarily of creating wealth generation, like, from zero, for example. Okay. And I think that I have been buying companies over the last since 2006. Okay. And so it's one of these things where what I can attest to in terms of my own path is that, I've had 3 7-figure exits at this point. And so working in that private equity quadrant, A, we know that the billionaires are doing it. B, we know from Bowden's study that very high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals all own companies. And we can tell from Tiger 21 that these are people that are wealthy enough that are starting to diversify out. But what we're seeing is that they're still over allocating into private equity versus anything else. Okay. Now, here's the big takeaway that I actually got from this graph. Okay. The things on the right side of the screen, the right side of this circle here, are things that everyone has access to investing in. Okay. If you want to buy stocks, you can buy stocks. If you want to buy bonds, commodities, you want to buy Bitcoin, that's fine. You want to get cash, gold, whatever. These are things that we all, let me say it a different way, millionaire next door. This is where they invest. And to me, the little thing that makes the big difference is the left side of this graph, okay, is private capital markets of private equity and real estate. What we can assume here, okay, is that the wealthiest individuals understand that taking risks that most people are not willing to take is actually how fortunes are created, okay? Now, I believe that buying existing companies is the single fastest way for most people to build real wealth, okay? Like I said, I've been doing this for over a decade. And the thing is, I look at startups, okay? Startups are great when they work, okay? But there's terrible odds of success. And 96%, according to Vern Harnish, 96% of startups that actually make it never even exceed $1 million in revenue, okay, which is not really why we're in the game here. You can go into real estate, but like I shared, I think that you got to get kind of scrappy, which is great, but I also think that it's a really good side hustle. I haven't met a huge amount of people who have gotten extremely wealthy doing real estate, all right? And then you've got from zero. Usually they own a business, they get some capital to then invest in real estate. Okay. The author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you actually read all of his stuff. You find out at the very end of his third book that the way he was able to start really buying real estate was because he had a company that sold. Okay. And that's how he actually got the capital to do all of his real estate. To buy an already existing company, it has the ROI, it has the margin of safety, it has the upside potential that we talked about before. I'm not going to go into that here. It's in Buy Then Build if you care to read about why. But here's the thing. It's a money ball of entrepreneurship. When you buy an existing company, it has product market fit already, okay? It has existing customers. It has infrastructure. It has intelligent people, employees, systems, processes, all the things you want to build when you do a startup, by the way. And finally, it's got existing earnings, okay? If it doesn't have existing earnings, you're probably not going to buy it unless you have deep experience in how to do turnarounds or that industry, okay? Listen, the greatest transfer of wealth in human history is occurring between today and the end of this decade, okay? As the baby boomers retire, there's an estimated $10 trillion of wealth that needs to change hands, okay? It's almost 50% of the United States economy, all right? And there's plenty of bank financing out there available to buy these companies in a way that it's such a little amount down in order to buy a business that's one of the largest 4% in the world, okay? So listen, if you want to buy a business in the next 6 to 24 months, I have built the Acquisition Lab. And this is the premier accelerator. We're quickly approaching almost 200 million in member acquisitions in the last 24 months. We've got a vetted community, world-class education, tools, resources, service provider networks, obviously, and a vetted community that is the cornerstone of everything that we do. Come check us out at acquisitionlab.com, and hopefully we will see your application. Thanks so much.